Hey everyone, welcome to the channel, and welcome back if you've seen a few other recipes. Today I made a really delicious chocolate cake. It was 3 layers and covered in icing. It turned out really great, and it really wasn't too long to make. So this is everything you're going to need in front of me. I started out with 1 bowl. I added my 1.5 cups of sugar. I didn't have quite 1.5 cups of sugar, but I added what I had. I added in my flour. I did about 1 cup of flour. My cocoa powder, I did about 3/4 cup of that. I like to add in all my dry ingredients first and then just adding in the wet on top of that. Here I did 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda and baking powder, 1 of each. 1 teaspoon of salt. I went in with 1 cup of milk, 3/4 cup of the oil, vegetable oil to be exact, and a splash of the vanilla, 2 eggs. I was just getting my mixer here. I mean, I could have folded it starting in first with the spatula so then I wouldn't have had all this dust, but it was okay. I'm just getting a spatula here to scrape down the edges, so you want everything to be mixed and well combined. And then I had my cup of water. You wanted hot water as well. And just scraping down the sides there, like I said. And mixing that up so it's really comes together. It doesn't take too long, just a minute or two to mix. Trying to clear my work area here. I hope you guys are enjoying the recipes and the channel. I love baking lately quite a bit, but I do meals too. And pro tip, use your parchment paper in your springform pan just to help with cleanup, and it also helps take the cake out of the form pan afterwards as well. You guys will see here, it makes it super easy. So I had 3 springform pans. The one was a little bit bigger than the other 2, which I kind of wish I had the 3 the same size. I think I'll have to go get another one. Just trimming the edges here of the parchment paper. You don't need all that excess. So I ended up using a kitchen scale to make sure I could get the same amount in each springform pan, as close as possible anyways. I think next time I might just do a 2-layer, 3-layer. Maybe it would have been different if I had all the same 3 size springforms, but you guys will see here when it's done baking. It did turn out great and it was delicious, but maybe next time 2 layers. So I'm just scooping in. I could have just lifted the bowl and poured it in, but I honestly didn't want to make a mess. So I'm just adding in to each springform. And like I said, I'll use the kitchen scale to measure and make sure they're all as close as possible in the amount that I put in. Just measuring those out. And then I'm gonna fill my last one. Once there was less batter, I just kind of poured it in there. Getting the last little bit, and I had my oven preheated at 350, and these only took 35 minutes. Super quick, so you want to keep an eye, and then you want to check them all with a toothpick to make sure they're done cooking. And I put them on pans, so because the extra oil I'd put in the springforms, I didn't want it to leak out, so I highly suggest using the cookie trays. So those come out real easy. And then here with the paper, there, just onto the cooling rack. Makes your life so much easier when you do it this way. Learn from experience. So I'd let those cool for like an hour on the counter on that rack. And I'm just making the icing. So I melted half a cup of butter, did 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder, just basically used what I had left. And this looks really messy, but it's basically the equivalent of 3 cups of the icing sugar that I used. It comes together really nicely, and you don't need to use the electric mixer for this. You can just honestly mix it by hand to start because you don't want that to go everywhere. And I used about 1/4 of a cup of milk. You can see me starting it out here, just getting everything combined by hand so it's not a complete mess. And then I went in with the mixer just to smooth it out. And I did add a splash of milk just to help it be a little bit softer. Adding basically a tablespoon or teaspoon of milk at a time. You don't want to overdo it because then it'll be too runny and it won't stay on your cake as well. But this is a great cake to make for anything really. Take it somewhere, have it as a birthday cake. You could dress it up. If you wanted, you could get crazy and do like food coloring too. But I just did your standard chocolate cake. And another thing you could do too is use a bread knife and like slice into the layers to have them more even. Honestly, I was just happy to eat this, so I trimmed the edges there. I ended up just pulling them off. It was a little bit less messy. But like I said, next time I think I'd do the 2 layers and make sure your spring forms are the exact same size. Honestly, it still tasted great though. And using the best layer for the top part so it looks the nicest. And if you don't have one of these little special icing knives, you can use a butter knife to put it on, or a spoon, anything really. This is like my favorite chocolate cake. It's super moist. I just whipped this up to take to a friend's house tonight. And then after you're done icing it, you're going to want to stick it in the fridge just to help it, the icing, I guess, solidify, you'd say. And then it's easier, just because I was taking it to someone's house, so it was easier to transport if the icing was just a little bit harder. So once it's in the cool fridge, it does that. There you go, guys. All done. It was delicious, and I hope you try out this recipe. If you'd like to help out the channel by subscribing, that would be greatly appreciated too. I hope you enjoyed this one, and see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.